far. Good work.
This better be the last one.
This is the last one. Promise. project.
Good work. You've retrieved the keystone of rage.
January 3rd, 1993. We have done it. Time Loop Alpha 1 is operational. For the first time, certain aspects of a time loop are under our direct control. Years of planning have finally paid off. Synaptic modulators are stable, and limbic pulse generators have already confirmed our theories that entities can be generated at will. We will begin testing the optimal frequencies to induce each entity variant. Agent training protocols should be greatly enhanced as a result. The complete weaponization of the technology remains out of our reach for the near future. We are, of course, still bound by the 33-year cycle. Additionally, a proper emotional catalyst remains necessary to the time loop's formation. This requires a great deal of precise social engineering. Overcoming these limitations will be the major area of focus during the next phase of the project.
I made it out thanks to my little friend here. We couldn't have done it without you.
You alright?
Yes. I haven't seen the surface in a long time. I'm looking forward to it. Although I doubt that will be soon. The debriefings I'll have to endure will take some time. They'll want to know what the hell happened down there. From what little I've seen of Hadia, it seems to be a special place stuck in time. When I was on leave before the war, I walked the streets in Ljubljana. It was like I had used a time machine and arrived in another timeline. It was a strange sensation because I couldn't pinpoint the exact period. Walking on the street, you feel like you're in medieval times. Then you turn the corner and are suddenly propelled into the 1950s. I didn't mingle much with the locals, not my style. I prefer tinkering with machines. I hardly set foot outside this place since the war started. I'm not missing much from what I've heard. I know our people have their part to play in this mess. You probably know more about it than I do. The operatives in the Oculus division are masters at creating conflict and have their fingerprints all over this war. Funding extremists, targeted assassinations, false flags, you name it. How do I know all this? Well, I was married to an operative. Aside from what is said about them in the news and newspapers, I know little about them. The peacekeepers have tried their best to delay the war, but it was a lost cause. The Oculus division made sure of that. I don't know much about the Sabinians. I only know what the higher-ups told us in the briefings when we first arrived. However, I got a small sample when I went out on leave. I got a well-deserved weekend pass one time. I used to get those before the war. I spent it in Merciless, the capital city in Asteria. I was enjoying my caffeine-infused beverage in a small cafe on the corner of a busy street. I'm curious and I love gossip, so I discreetly listened to a few conversations. I do that purely to entertain myself. At first, the conversations were run-of-the-mill exchanges. These are mainly complaints about work, teachers being too strict, deadlines, overtime, being too tired, a suspect husband, and the everyday anecdotes you might hear anywhere. Then, a news report comes on. The cafe fell into a silent hush. I don't remember what it was about, but when it was over, all you could hear were complaints about the Palamists. Some conversations went as far as suggesting to kill them all. It was surreal. The change in attitude was almost instant. I don't think the news realizes the power they have. Or do they? I've never met any Palamists, and if I did, I didn't notice. There is one place I would love to visit. It's in the heart of the Palamist province of Argola. It's the capital city of Trisk. Some who went on leave there told me it was stunning. It has some of the oldest castles, friendly people, and the best restaurants in Hadia. I know, it sounds like a commercial, but it's what everyone says when people come back from there. I hope it survives the war. I want to visit Trisk if ever I get a weekend pass again. Well, that's probably unlikely. The Cerebrum Division was partly created to study, examine, observe, and dissect them. It's why most of us are here. That old time loop we found in the ancient part of Origa Museum played a significant role in studying the entities. Why do you think your drone can distract them? We discovered that the entities emit specific frequencies. We have yet to find out why. However, I figured out how to scramble their signal. I built the emitter inside the drone to interrupt the entity's frequency waves, temporarily confusing them. I'm still working on an emitter that doesn't cost too much energy and can last longer. As you know, those few seconds are precious for a soldier. I'll get on that as soon as this place becomes operational again.
Thanks for helping me escape.
Are you gonna be alright?
I'll be just fine. The intervention forces are on their way. They'll clean up this mess. I'll have a lot of work to do, though. Fixing all the systems. I'll have to run diagnostics to determine what went wrong. I don't know what's happening to this country. I've been living here since I set foot in Hadia. I can tell you a lot about what's happening in the Origa Museum, but the NDA attached to my contract with Operation Moloch is pretty scary. They had us work in silos. All the research departments are entirely segregated. One of my coworkers was a massive history buff. He managed to get his hands on some local books. Books he found were censored. No Haitian was allowed to read the contents. He slipped them out of a repository in another SEAL Council complex he worked at before being transferred here. He wouldn't shut up about them. He was fascinated by this one ruler. Her name was Lady Margaret. This isn't the first time these creatures have shown up in Haiti. It's all over their history. This ruler loved her people, wanted to protect them from the creatures. So she had them build a massive underground city. It's in Argola somewhere. He went on to explain that it wasn't the only place. There's thousands of underground ruins all over Haiti. It's because of her. I don't remember the details, but Lady Margaret died under tragic circumstances. I told him to stop telling me all this stuff. He eventually got transferred. Now, I find myself wanting to know more about Lady Margaret. What else is new? Both sides are identical. It's pretty debilitating if you genuinely think about it. Only people who are the same can reach such a point. The line is drawn in the sand, cutting through grievances and insanity. Both sides of the line are utterly convinced that the other represents an absolute menace to everything they considered sacred. Now, where have I seen this before? Their mission here always felt a bit peculiar. I can't quite put my finger on it. Don't get me wrong. The country needed peacekeeping operations, but something felt off. I arrived in the country right when the temporary legislative alliance broke at the seams. I couldn't help but notice how tense the SEAL Council supervisors were. Everything started feeling more precipitated. Not long after, the ON peacekeepers arrived in the country, and all the higher-ups began breathing again. I don't think they were scared of a possible civil war. As far as I know, the SEAL Council needed the bloodshed. No. Something else was making them anxious. Something related to all our cumulative work. I made it a point never to mingle with the locals. That's just setting yourself up, especially when you're considering what you're doing to them. There's a reason you don't name the animals in your lab. It gets personal. A line has to be drawn. I know this guy from medical who got involved with the local. She was a palomist. He met her in a small village. He was assigned there to set up some equipment, before the big day. He got reassigned out of the fields into a lab. He kept in contact with her. But when the war broke out, he lost it and he tried to find her. What an idiot. He's out there looking for her. At first, I was terrified of them. What the fuck am I looking at? After a while, though, you start getting used to them. Then they just become a part of the job. They're amazing, aren't they? They immediately became terrifying again when they got loose, but it was still amazing, right? To think they may hold answers to some of our most pressing questions. It'll take some time before they make Riga Museum safe again. I guess I'll be reassigned to another lab in the meantime.
Thank you for helping me down there.
Are you gonna be okay?
I will be, as soon as I leave. I won't be working for these people anymore. I hope you use that Amin prism I gave you. Those poor people did not deserve such a fate. Hadia is gorgeous. I had the privilege of visiting some cities before the chaos. A few weeks before Palamists and Sabinians started killing each other, I was assigned here in Origa to that psychopath, Dr. Mabden. They turned the entire country into their science experiment at the expense of all citizens of Hadia. For what? Progress? Science? This isn't progress or science. This is genocide. The Zeal Council orchestrated the whole thing. I don't know all the details, but I intend to play along for a few more weeks, steal some files, accumulate evidence, and then leave. I already have some, but I'm going to get more. I want to blow the lid on this whole operation. Someone has to pay for this. The Peacekeepers were used to time everything perfectly. God forbid the Palamists and Sabinians start killing each other at the wrong time. And what if the ON finds out? Nothing will happen. Nothing. The people in charge of this operation control everything. Think of something, anything. They either own it or have created it. That's how far this goes. Sabinians want what most people desire in life. Freedom. I remember reading a few articles about it. When that dictator died, Sabinian politicians wanted a democracy, a free market, and to rejoin the world. The Palamists wanted the same thing. Their inconsolable rift seems to lie in the nitty-gritty details of their history. I'm not sure I fully understand why they hate each other. I guess you need to be born here to understand why. Then again, I'm not sure the Hadeans know why anymore. I can't help but have a soft spot for the Palamists. I see a lot of me in them. They remind me of my family back home. Close to the earth, strong family ties, and religious to the bone. If I ever get out of this mess, I'm going straight to the family farm, where I'll devour my mom's home-cooked meals. I'm still trying to figure out where the creatures are from. Weapons research, pharmaceuticals, biotech, and medical research are all working in silos. Each department concentrates on its own thing. There is no sharing of information or breakthroughs. I guess it prevents us from doing what I'm about to do. Blow the whistle on this whole operation. I grabbed as much stuff as possible when I got out of there. There is something they are not telling us. We know the time loops are a doorway, enabling the creatures to enter our world. We know this occurrence happens every 33 years on the 1st of January at midnight. What is opening the time loops? And to what end? Whatever it is, it's something I haven't seen yet. Thank you for helping me down there.
Only one more left.
Find anything? Interesting find. Let's see what the server can tell us about it. My article on the Zeal Council conspiracy is up. Let me know if you want more information.
What am I supposed to do with this keystone?
We must return to the Limbic Force.